to play now. Put me in the game now. I came here to prove it, I'm ready to do it, I can't be afraid now. Put me on the stage now, I'm ready to rage now. I feel like an animal stuck in a cage and I'm ready to break out. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. This time, like the last time, you better get ready to race to the top. I'm ready to do this, show you what the truth is. I step on the field, it's time to get real, I'm feeling so ruthless. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. Lower the lights down, hand over my crown, hand over my heart. I do this for my town, I do this for my crowd. So turn me up real loud. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. Yeah. So what are you afraid of? Those feelings are made of. Get in the game, your moment of fame, show them what you made of. It's time that we stand up, it's time that we man up. For anyone asking who is the best, we putting our hands up. My time, nothing can keep me from reaching the top. This time, like the last time, I'm moving so fast, I'm ready to ride. I'm ready to throw down, it's time for the showdown. I'm ready to rise, don't be surprised, I'll take on the world now. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. Lower the lights down, hand over my crown, hand over my heart. I do this for my town, I do this for my crowd. So turn me up real loud. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. My town, my crown, we know what it takes to be reaching the top. We reaching the top, we reaching the top. We know what it takes to be reaching the top. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. My town, my crown, we know what it takes to be reaching the top. We reaching the top, we reaching the top. We know what it takes to be reaching the top. Lower the lights down, hand over my crown, hand over my heart. I do this for my town, I do this for my crowd. So turn me up real loud. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. Turning the track up, I'll never go back down. Hand over my heart, I do this for my town, I do this for my crowd. So turn me up real loud. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop.
Look at my shine with the blow. This is my time with it though. This is my time to be way at the top. Me and my guys gon' pay out the block. I don't look like wall. Time's right, and I know the sea is walking in a limelight. Promise you won't wanna watch like a sci-fi. My guys are high risers, high tide. My crown if you come to my side. I pledge allegiance for lifetime. My squad connected like Wi-Fi. We grind and you see the highlights. This my life. It ain't a game now. Me and you, we ain't the same now. Lions coming out to play now. Opposition out the way now. Out of the way. You wasn't invited. Say you come to play. I dare you to try it. You don't wanna try me. Then step up to my team. Yeah, out of the way. Yeah, yeah. Out of the way. Yeah, yeah. Out of the way. Game now, me and you, we ain't the same now. Lions coming out to play now. Opposition out the way now. Out of the way, you wasn't invited. Say you come to play, I dare you to try it. You don't wanna try me, then step up to my team. Yeah, out of the way, yeah, yeah. Out of the way, yeah, yeah. Out of the way.
Now completed on the 2020 season. Tonight, we start a 4-race battle for the championship. This is normally the part of the program where you'll either hear myself or Steve or somebody else tell you what's on the line. And we all know that what these drivers are fighting for is a championship and the better part of $300,000. But as these drivers get set to go racing and kick off the playoffs tonight for the Charlotte Motor Speedway Roval, we want you to hear it from them. So we sat down and talked with these drivers. We want you to hear it from them on what they feel like this championship is worth.
Playoffs are stressful, and every lap counts in this series.
Playoffs are intense. We need to win.
I'm going to win the championship simply because our team never gives up.
If you want to make it to Homestead, you're going to have to get through me.
Through me.
Through me. Through me.
Through me.
You got to get through me.
No more gimmies, no more breaks. It's all take. This is the playoffs.
Playoffs, they're definitely tough. You got 8 drivers fighting for 4 spots.
We've ran up front, but realistically the only way to guarantee ourselves in is to win.
The other 7 drivers don't matter. I'm racing myself.
Five times sounds better than 4 times.
The road to $300,000 has reached Act 2. With the regular season behind us and the playoff opener next, we say good evening, sim racing fans, and welcome to the first race of the round of 8 for the 2020 eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series playoffs. As always, we're happy that you're with us here on the iRacing Esports Network and streaming live on eNASCAR.com, where, as always, alongside of myself, Evan Pasoko, happy to be joined on the call tonight by Steve Letarte. And, Steve, we've been over this over the last 2 races with you at Vegas and Talladega, but honestly, all 16 races in the regular season, that was just step number 1. Well, for the 8 drivers who have made it here to the playoffs, now it gets pretty serious because the conversation for the last few weeks was, were they safe, were they not? Now I can tell you none of them are, but they all have an equal opportunity to put that first step in the right direction in hopes of that 2020 championship.
Yeah, Evan, no one is safe, but everyone has the goal of Miami on the forefront. They know 3 races is the path, a win, and you're guaranteed there. When the playoffs first were created, when it came to racing and NASCAR racing, I didn't think the racing could get more intense. I said, why do we need playoffs? Well, I will tell you firsthand, I have seen it. The playoffs increase the pressure. You see the 8 drivers, Leahy, Luza, Zalenski, Mullis, Ottinger, Alfala, Conti, and Lowe. These 8 drivers, other than a few points between them, it is basically heads up. Who can make it to Miami? Who can race for a championship? I know points can get you there, but I'm going to feel way better with a win, and you're guaranteed into those final 4.
And that was one of the points that these drivers made when we talked to them, Steve, as we kind of stressed all season. There is no win and you're in. You had to point your way here. But now if you win tonight at the Roval, next week at Kansas, even later at Texas, you're automatically in. These drivers still racing with all that on playoff cars, so some guys could come in and play spoiler. But even if we do have 3 different race winners over these next 3 races from those 8, there's still at least 1 spot in on points. So the win is the objective. That would be the easy path to get there. But with at least 1 ticket on points, drivers are going to have to make a decision in some late race restarts maybe. Do I go for the win now? Do I play for points? You've got multiple avenues to go after.
Well, you have multiple avenues, but a win is the best way to do it because it takes the pressure off. If you can win today at the Roval, then you know you're into Miami. So while you'll still compete in the next 2 races, all your testing, all your preparation, all of the work in the sim can be focused on Miami. So it's a big advantage to lock yourself in early.
And one driver who has victory lane on his mind this afternoon is Bobby Zalenski. He is no doubt the favorite for the race win tonight. He's the king of the road courses in this series. Steven, you're talking with him now.
Yeah, so Bobby, my first question is very simple. First of all, thanks for joining us, but you're the king of the road courses. Everybody has a bullseye on you. How do you not read the headlines? How do you not get too confident? How do you stay focused on the task at hand?
I mean, I read it. It's all good, you know. It's still a race at the end of the day. I mean, I'm driving the car, and I just really enjoy driving these tracks. So what's there to be freaking out about, you know?
Well, you mentioned it. You seem pretty calm. You're ready to go. Describe the Roval. I got to cover the Roval just last weekend in the rain. On Saturday was chaos. On Sunday, we saw Chase Elliott repeat going to victory lane. You have shown repeat success, great speed at the Roval. What makes this track different than other road courses?
I think the chicanes are really unique, and like how much time you can lose and gain there in those two chicanes. The infield is, you know, it's just a different kind of road course. Like can't really compare it to any other road courses, and it's properly named a Roval. Those two chicanes are just where you're going to lose and gain the most time, and you just got to be really easy with the car and caress it through the infield.
All right, so handicap the field. We know you're the favorite. Everybody's talking about you. Give me 2 or 3 other names that you know you have to outrun to get the win tonight.
Definitely Keegan. We test together, practice together, and he's worked really, really hard. Jimmy Mullis, Graham Bolin. I mean, I'm just kind of going through the queue results, but I think people queued about where I think you got to also look out for Conti making moves coming up through the field because that dude's a beast.
All right, man. Well, good luck, and we'll see. I can't wait to watch it. I've seen it firsthand. I can't wait to cover it tonight. Evan, he seems pretty confident behind the wheel already.
And for good reason, because he's got a pretty good start on the grid for this one. Practice, qualified, all in the books. Let's go playoff racing. All that's left to do is to go down trackside, turn up the music, and take a look at tonight's Coca-Cola starting grid. For the 4th time this year, it is Bobby Zalenski on pole, only driver to go sub 114 with a 1 minute 13.897 will bring us to the green flag, and there is Keegan Leahy alongside in second. Jimmy Mullis, Graham Bolin start third and fourth with Corey Vincent and Nick Ottinger our top 6.
Yeah, just heard the producer about Michael Conti. He'll roll off outside of row 5. Nathan Lyon back there in row 6 next to his teammate Colin Keister.
Yeah, some more big names back here, likes of Ryan Lewis on the outside of row number 9. One of your championship drivers, going to be kind of mid-pack as this one gets kicked off. Further down, his teammate Matt Busa going to be right there as well. More big names, the likes of Davis and DeBolton, but Ray Alfala, P24.
Yeah, P24, you see a little over a second off the pace. Chris Sherburne back there in row 15 next to Malik Ray, Michael Guest. And as we round out this field, it's important to remind everybody, Evan, we see Zach Novak, Phil Diaz. We have a playoff race as well as trying to keep yourself in the top 20 in points.
Yeah, so those non-playoff cars, we talk about them mixing it up with the playoff drivers. They've got just as much to fight for, so they are not going to be taking it easy on these guys at all. Well, of course, it's not our first trip here to the Roval, so there's a little bit of kind of history and some precedent for these drivers to lean back on, Steve, but kind of walk us through what we're going to see in this one with our ASUS race analysis.
Well, it's 55 laps, 30 to 34 laps on fuel, 3 sets of tires, pit road, all the way down to 40 miles per hour. A difficult racetrack. You just heard it. It's a mix of an oval and a road course. That's where it gets its name, the Roval. A couple high-speed braking areas into the chicane, a nice, slow, winding infield section. There's a lot of give and take and a lot of areas to get yourself in trouble.
And one big thing drivers have been talking about as well is the change in weather conditions. You see it's a little bit overcast. The driver said that did have a little bit of an effect, but most of their practice was in kind of those open sky conditions. 82 degrees Fahrenheit, track temp just a little bit more at 89 with mostly cloudy conditions. And as this field rolls, of course, we're going to be taking multiple onboard looks with these drivers as this race goes on, and we'll give you those perspectives over the course of this race, and we'll be checking in with them and checking out these unique sim rigs at home, kind of how they're setting themselves up. Some drivers may be switching over to the paddles, notably, for this road course race to make things a little bit interesting. We discussed that a couple of weeks ago when we were racing at the Daytona International Speedway road course. And one other thing to help you identify the non-playoff cars, and the playoff cars alike, is they're going to look a little bit different on the racetrack. The non-playoff drivers will have white accents on their cars. So that is white across the splitter, the windshield banner, the rails on the roof number, and the splitter. Very easy to tell. If you are a playoff 8 driver, you'll have all of those same markings, but in Coca-Cola red. So that's how you're going to be able to tell where those 8 playoff drivers are. They're also going to be accented red on all of the graphics on tonight's broadcast, so it's very easy for you to tell where those playoff drivers are running. The lights off on top of the pace car, Steve. We're going green this time by. You heard it from Bobby, but I wanted to get your input as well as they come out of this infield section. What are going to be kind of the key parts of the racetrack we're looking at tonight is these guys are looking at a one-stop race, which honestly, probably about a minute or an hour and 15 minutes in length is a little bit of a sprint.
It is a little bit of a sprint. I think one of the key spots of the racetrack is the corner we just saw the field exit. That's turn 7 and 8 as they climb out of the infield and onto the high banks. That is a long run through NASCAR 1 and 2, the high banks down the backstretch into the backstretch chicane. I think Bobby Zalenski said it best. Listen, he has the pace. Everyone knows he has the pace. He's proven it time and time again, but that does not guarantee a win. It's a one-stop race. We could see speeding on pit road. We could see pitting at the wrong time. We could see mistakes. This racetrack can reach out and bite you. The chicanes are easy to miss. The infield section has very little runoff. We have seen cars get in trouble here before.
Well, the virtual fans are packed in. They're looking forward to this one and happy that everybody's joining us here on the iRacing Esports Network as they take that very tricky back straightaway bus stop. There are going to be no full course cautions in this race, so that is something to note as well. Doesn't matter if we wad up a bunch of virtual sheet metal, this race is going green for 55 laps, so restart's not a concern. So a quick footnote on this initial start is that the chicane on the front straightaway is part of the start procedure here in this series, whereas you saw with NASCAR over the weekend, that was not a part, so the drivers towards the back of the pack and have to go through a corner before this race really even kicks off. Well, we're happy that you're with us, as always, on Tuesdays. That pace car down and in. It's Bobby Zalenski's field and a huge opportunity for him as the green flag flies, and we say, let's go playoff racing from the Roval. Well, I was going to say a clean start, Steve, but we saw at least one driver off track. That was Eric Smith in turn number 3. Just one car, so no big issue. We stay green, and visibly the first thing I'm noticing, and a positive that I know you guys were talking about on the broadcast this weekend, no rain. So these drivers putting in optimal lap times every time.
Yeah, well, you said that it was a little overcast. I started to get a little nervous. Oh, as we see the 41 go around the back chicane, he'll get righted and get accelerating, try to get back in the field. You mentioned it, no full course yellow, so any sort of issue like that time given up, those spots given up, they'll be very difficult to back. 41 of Dylan Duval getting turned around.
Duval got tapped by Casey Kerwin, and there you see on the left-hand side of your screen those drivers highlighted in that Coke red. Those are the drivers in the playoffs for 2020. Notably, you can see of your top 8, or of your top 8, in fact, 6 of them, playoff drivers, including first, second, and third. No changes from the get-go in this one through your top 7. Everybody maintaining. Michael Conti an early +2. He goes from 10th position to 8th. There's his number 8 WR1 Sim Chassis Chevy.
I really think the key for Leahy and Mullis is to just keep Zalenski on the same straightaway. As we talked about, Zalenski has the pace. Just put some pressure on him. Make sure he has to look in his mirror in case he makes a mistake. As we see the 8 of Conti kind of putting the pressure on low in the 21. And I think that's what, even if you can't make a pass right here down the backstretch, look out. Point out to the left. Make the 21 see you in the mirror. Maybe you can get her to overdrive the corner a little bit.
When we talk about that back straightaway chicane, let's take a second look at the incident with Dylan Duval. That's probably going to be the trickiest corner on track, and this was contact with Casey Kerwin. You can see how far back the 23 was, but it looked like Duval got checked up a little bit with the cars in front and kind of got run over. They had a discussion on the radio. Kerwin apologized for it. Duval got going without much damage, but of course giving up time in a race where you won't have the benefit of yellows and restarts and opportunities to make up for lost ground, it does hurt. So running order, left-hand side of your screen. On the right side, it is your current leaderboard, +3, -3. That's the difference between Ottinger and Luza for that top 4 cut to make it to the Homestead finale. Of course, Zalenski leading would get that win, and you're in.
Other than a few issues on the racetrack, it seems pretty, I don't want to say peaceful, but how about patient? Patient back here in the field. You see one car lane kind of between all these cars lined up. This is a track that you almost have to race the track when it comes to the infield section. Mostly all second gear through the infield, very slick, not a lot of rear grip, easy to overdrive, easy to make a mistake. And then some high-speed braking right here as they go down to the backstretch chicane, a quick left, right, set the car, and then work your way back to the left as you climb the bank.
And a lot of times as well, a little bit different from what we saw last year, just because these drivers are using that lower downforce package at the track this time around. So it does drive a little bit differently, but you can see these drivers, I mean, those fast times, low 14s, Zalenski breaking into the 13s. I mean, that's about, 6 seconds faster than some of the best guys on the sim and some of the open racing that I've seen this week. So they put so much time in on the setups any given week, but especially here, I think it can really give a driver a benefit if you're with an organization that's got that figured out.
Yeah, I'll be honest. Road course racing is, you have to have this talent behind the wheel, and then you can make the car better. If it's not your forte and you struggle changing both directions, you struggle getting into a rhythm, while the car does matter, I think you even struggle testing your car and trying to improve it. If you have so much opportunity to improve just in your driving ability, it's hard to consistently improve your equipment. I think that's what gives Zalenski such a huge advantage. He obviously has a very clear feel of what he's looking for. So when they go and test, when they run practice laps, when they do development work, he knows what he's looking for on a short run and a long run.
Well, I think that's a good way to kind of tie in with what we were seeing over the weekend. You talked about Chase Elliott, Steve, winning now 4 road course races in a row. Zalenski is undefeated in his career in this series at them. That no matter what you got, you have confidence in your driver. And Zalenski is a guy who's not only in this series, but he's a pro road racer on the sim as well.
Well, and it shows. Right, it shows right away that he is a pro at the road courses because he's so good in this series when they turn both directions.
Let's take in the sights and sounds of the Charlotte Roval and go iRacing at full throttle. Well, it's been smooth sailing so far up front for Bobby Zalenski. His current race lead to about 2.6 seconds as he now looks to complete lap number 7 of 55 in this race. A good advantage. Really, those top three have all kind of separated themselves. Leahy comfortably second, Mullis comfortably third. It's fourth on back that I think is going to be one of the best races. This battle here from Graham Bolin on back, Steve, to watch. This is where, not that you get to the rest, because these guys are still really fast on time, but I think 1, 2, and 3 have been able to differentiate themselves already, and that fourth on back may be a little bit more open. You see Bolin, Ottinger, Vincent the last time by within a second of each other.
Yeah, these guys are by no means slow. They have great pace, good lap times, just a little bit off the front three. But what they are is very, very equal. You see these 3 cars stacked up, then a little bit of gap, and then another 5 or 6 cars. Those are a lot of points available for those playoff drivers. So as we see Nick Ottinger right here in the 25 as he climbs up into the turn 1, you take a look at him driving this thing. You see one hand on the wheel. This is kind of the area of the roll to relax. You know, an area of Charlotte that perhaps can be a little slick when you're running a road course setup, or excuse me, an oval setup. But when you run the road course, the high banks are the places where the car drives fine. It's easy to keep it straight.
We saw a lot of drivers working really hard over the weekend on the Roval, and obviously racing in the sim is not that same level of physicality, I should say, but these guys are going to be getting a workout in, especially if these drivers are opting to use some of the wheel and pedal setups that have some force feedback, is they'll feel it. So take that opportunity on the oval to kind of let yourself relax for a moment and then kind of get back into gear. And it's funny because those relaxing points come just before and after those 2 most critical parts on track, the back straightaway bus stop and the chicane off of turn number 4 on the super speedway. What you can see, not a ton of communication from Ottinger right now. This race, yeah, there's 3 sets of tires down pit road, Steve, but you talked about it in the ASUS race analysis. It's a one-stopper. And they have enough flexibility there. A couple of drivers could go for the undercut, some drivers could go for the overcut, but it's a race where unless you have trouble and then you have to reassess, you kind of know what your plan is. So there's not a lot of back and forth, driver to the team. They're letting him do his thing.
Yeah, one stop, I would break it up pretty well in the middle. The only reason I would come early is I feel like I was getting held up on track. If Ottinger right here feels like Bolin is holding him up, when they get closer to their pit window, maybe he'll want to try to pit 1 lap earlier to try to, flip him, jump in front of him on pit road. Or perhaps if he's a lap behind the 18, maybe run 1 or 2 clean laps and try to leapfrog him before he comes to pit road.
You can see Nick Ottinger, one of the playoff drivers. He also has that red playoff marking on the dashboard where you can see the 25 Ottinger just below the windshield there. So just another way where you can tell those playoff drivers apart from everybody else. And of course, Bolin is under fire. Behind Corey Vincent, non-playoff driver, you can see it is that normal black backplate behind his name on the dash of the car. But these are 2 non-playoff guys making Ottinger work for this. And of course, he is the 4th of the playoff drivers right now, the lowest of which is Roval. I haven't talked much about him yet, Steve, aside from the grid, but he started 24th. He's in 23rd. Ray knew that coming into this race, it was going to be a challenge. He put a lot of work in, and this is one of those cases where he, I think, is just looking to not wreck out, just to get through this race, and then kind of pick up the pieces going to Kansas and Texans and say, okay, what do I need to do now to get the job done? Because we talk about guys like Bobby, who love these road course races. Roval not necessarily in that same category.
Yeah, you just try to minimize the damage. Just stay on track. Try to keep your car going in the right direction and try to just limit the risk.
And you see Brandon Cattell there in the number 14 machine, coming off of course, the first career win from the Talladega Super Speedway. He's riding in this battle. Looks like one of the G2 Esports cars up the road as he's working that banking part. 1 on the road course, and then this back straightaway bus stop. 2 on the Super Speedway. It is 9 and 10. Left-hander 11. The right-hander is considered turn 12, and then another opportunity to kind of reset as they get up and on the banking. And well, the reason we're showing you that number 14 machine is because that same car with the 14 was doing pretty good on the Roval this week, and the boss man is chatting with us now. Steve, you're with Clint Boyer.
My man Boyer, I got to ask you, buddy, how are them arms? I know you didn't get the finish you were looking for, but what a hell of a drive. Those last 20 or 30 laps with no power steering, amazing.
Oh, what happened? Brandon just moved over and let that guy go. Man, what a race weekend. As I saw this, I have a question. How come we didn't start in the rain with these guys right here?
Hey, I'm with you. This should have been a rain race. Let's make it realistic. Let's put the puddles out there, the vision down. Let's start them in the rain.
That was a game changer for us for sure. What a cool racetrack. I didn't think that I would ever say those words. We would never hear those words come out of my mouth, but honestly, I love it. It's so challenging. All aspects of it, every single corner. Really, really is neat for me to watch these guys run the lap here. I'm listening to their braking points, their throttle up off of this chicane right here. How hard they're able to get onto the gas, where they get onto the gas, not used to the curves, but not too much. It's all so real. So just literally, I was closing my eyes, listening to the car, and just like I can put myself right back in it. Unbelievable what these guys can do, with their race cars, lap after lap after lap. No mistakes. We all know, Steve, you know better than anybody, mistakes are what lead, and make the difference ultimately of a good run and a bad run on a road course. We had a good race Sunday for us. We were really fast. Literally nothing went our way. The first stage was running second there. One more lap is all that we needed. The caution come out. We were stuck with rain tires. Everybody had slicks on, so we had to pit. Lost all of our stage points for that one. The second stage, we probably made a mistake. Should have stayed out, got our stage point. Oh! Oh, no! We're off the track. That's one thing you can't do, Brandon. You cannot be off the racetrack, especially at this place. There is no room for error on this place. But, again, going back to our Sunday, we were fast when it was raining. We were fast when it was dry. At the end of the race, obviously got into some trouble in that part when Bubba got everybody jumbled up. But such is life. We gave it our all. I tried as hard as I could. Boy, he's having trouble.
Trying too hard. You know how it is, Clint. You make a mistake and then you try too hard.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's the age-old mistake on a road course. You bobble in one corner, you try to make it up on the rest of them, and it just doesn't happen that way. You got to be consistent all the way through. It's little bitty, 1/10, half a tenth here and there, what makes up the difference. But that's what's cool about watching this pack right here, as I've been watching, is they're making subtle mistakes, but they're not losing. It's okay to be a little bit sideways or overdrive a corner a little bit. You're going to do that. That's what's fun about road course racing, because you'll do that, and then the guy that's hounding you for position, he'll maybe get around you and do the same thing a lap or two later. Putting pressure on the best thing you can do, and you're watching these guys do that. But he's taking it. He's been there lap after lap, but these guys right on his tail, not making that ultimate mistake. Keep it.
Hey, listen, so I've seen you win in the dirt late model. Your team's win in the dirt late model. Your man, Brandon Cattell, we just saw him, had a little issue here, but he went to victory lane at Talladega. Did you ever think you'd be celebrating, virtual victory lane in the eNASCAR series?
I don't think any of us did. It's just amazing. With iRacing, they've invested, they've put in the time, they've hired the right people, they've done the right things, and it's the idea in a reality. This first, whoa!
Oh boy!
Get around him. It is happening right here. This is such a tricky corner right here. You got to be careful. He's still got position. I think he was smarter and let that guy go right there. I really do. But if he's not careful, twice. That's something I set people up all day long in that corner right there as you're going through 6 and 7, getting ready for that drive off of it. But no, Dan. Well, man, he's doing some serious blocking right there. But again, Steve, I was, going back to this.
Oh boy!
Correct. That's what happens when you block on a road course, unfortunately, right there.
That is what happened. Hey, talk about the playoffs. You've raced in the playoffs before. These guys have raced their entire season. Now they're here in the playoffs, 8 drivers trying to advance. I mean, they have to feel the pressure, right? The pressure of the playoffs does ramp up.
Absolutely. With us, there's so many things that play into that pressure. With these guys, it's almost harder. There's no us. It's them. There is no pit stops and making a mistake on, on a bobble of loose wheel or something like that, or an untimely caution or something crazy happening. It is nothing but driving time with this. And ultimately, I think that's why you're starting to see some guys really emerge in the cars.
Well, I got to ask you, first of all, congratulations. Fox announcement. You'll be joining the booth next year to do the first half of the season. What's the deal, man? You did some pro invitational races earlier in the year. Was that like your audition? Did you know this was going to lead to this or what?
It was an audition. I didn't know that it was. I don't think they knew that it was. I don't think anybody did. But again, I love my relationship with iRacing. Believe in the product, first and foremost. It's a lot of fun to be online and racing with people. I've got so many friends that have been on. Brett Beach, Chiefs GM, Eric Stone Street's got one now. There's so many friends all over the country. Guy Fieri's on my career about getting one. It only gets, and obviously now, because of iRacing and my affiliation with it, kind of gave me an opportunity to be a part of those broadcasts, and gave me that audition to speak of. But yeah, it all ties back to iRacing. I appreciate it very much.
Well, I'm going to tell you, that lineup you just gave, that's the kind of lineup I want to be in. I can't run with these guys. You're a hell of a professional race car driver, but these guys in the sim, they're untouchable. I'm more me and Duggar, maybe Stone Street. I mean, that's my kind of speed when it comes to a league race.
Me too. And Veach and man, I really suck at this. I'm like, dude, you're doing something for the first time. Anybody that's online has had countless hours and laps into their program and getting experience. You'll catch up. But I told them, just like I tell you, some of the most fun I have on iRacing is where it all started, in a street stock at a dirt track somewhere. We have some battles in that thing. Have so much fun. And that's what's cool about iRacing. There's something there for everybody.
Yeah, no, I agree. There's nothing like taking the street stock back to Myrtle Beach or maybe the fairgrounds at Nashville, beating and banging, pushing around. Boyer, man, we appreciate you joining us. Well, give us a little insight. Kansas coming up this week, heading home, home race for you. I know it's a little different in the pandemic, but I know it's always special for you to head back to Kansas.
Yeah, absolutely. It's home. It's always special to go back home. Cool racetrack, a little bit different this time, limited fans. It's been a struggle all year long for me. I'm a fan guy. You know that. I'm a people person. I got to get out there and mingle with my people. And when there's not very many of them there, it's a struggle. But 4 more to get a win. Thought we missed an opportunity last weekend. I knew that was going to be a good racetrack for me and our team, and unfortunately didn't get it. But got a couple more coming up. Kansas, she's been rough on me, buddy. But I'm telling you, one more shot at it. It'd be pretty cool to get it on your last attempt. And then, Martinsville. I love that place. Everybody knows that. Looking forward to Martinsville and then capping it off. Where it all started, believe it or not, at Phoenix. My first NASCAR race, Richard Childers, was at Phoenix. He sent me out to Phil McIntyre's West car. I'll never forget that. So it's pretty cool that it's all ending where it started.
Well, man, we appreciate you joining us. We appreciate your time and effort as being an owner here in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. I get to cover you on Sunday. Congrats on the Fox deal, and I'm excited to cover the last 4. I would love nothing more. I know I'm not supposed to have favorites, but you're my favorite this week. I'd love for you to win at your home track at Kansas. Now, I don't think you would make Texas, but it would be a heck of a win in Kansas.
Oh, absolutely. All 4 of them are good. Going to be good tracks. Going to be a lot of fun. Really no pressure. What are they going to do, fire me? I'm going for it. We're going to go out there and get it on. But let you get back to the broadcast. This is an awesome race. These guys are putting on a hell of a show. Now do your job and call this race. All right?
Focused. I'm focused. All right, Boyer, I can't talk to you anymore. Don't let him distract me, miss what's going on. It looks to me like Bobby Zalenski still leading about a 4.8-second lead by my timing and scoring.
That's been the constant, is Bobby Zalenski is still strong up front, Steve, and as we close it on the halfway point, these drivers are going to start to be thinking about a bit of that pit strategy. One thing that did happen, though, while we were talking with Clint, big championship implications for Michael Conti. He had started 10th, was running in 7th, Steve, and this is what happened going out of turns 7 and 8.
Yeah, you have to ask yourself, is this a mechanical issue driven by the driver? Did he miss a gear? Did he over rev it? What has happened to the 8 car? You're going to see right here that he locks the rear tires up, big plume of smoke like the engine expires. These guys are shifting just like they do in real life, so perhaps he has had an engine issue because of downshifting too early, overrunning the engine. But either way, as you mentioned, championship implications, the goal of the Roval was to run the best you can, but if you couldn't be Bobby Zalenski, don't dig yourself a hole. Unfortunately, that's exactly what happened to Conti there with the engine issue.
Going to put him all the way to the bottom of the playoff standings. He tweeted, slipped out of second, so probably went to first instead of third. His night is done just like that, and we'll welcome in the third member of our broadcast team, Tim Terry. Tim, you've got more.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head, Evan. It popped out of gear. It was going into second and popped back into first. We kind of saw that a couple of years ago at Sonoma with this exact team, but we do have some audio from the Conti team. Here's what he had to say.
Did it go into another gear then? Because
it didn't go all the way into second, and then it popped into first and blew up.
Oh, good.
Jeez. That's awesome. All right, well, that's that.
And after that, Jason Loafing said you have to go out and win one of these next two in order to get to Homestead, so they are focused now on these next two races, guys.
But that's not good for the 8 team. As you mentioned, he was already looking like to be probably the 5th highest placed finisher of the playoff guys in this race, Steve. And it looks like he will finish 37th out of 38, only ahead of Brian Schoenberg, who lost connection to the race a little bit ago. Yeah, basically must-win situation as he has to hope that he can get something done the next 2 weeks. Not a good position for a past series champion in Michael Conti. Watching the battle, Ray Alfala on back. It is the fight for 24th as we close in on pit stops. Take an opportunity to step aside. You're watching the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series playoffs from the Roval on the iRacing Esports Network.
For those living together and those living apart. For classmates, graduates, and teachers making the best of it. For the restaurants delivering to our doorsteps. For the frontline workers putting it on the line every single day. For this great nation determined to be stronger on the other side. Thanks to all of you, we'll be together again.
I am close to the end for some and the beginning for others. After all the races and all the wrecks, it's down to 10 drivers. And though each and every one of them wants it, only one can be named champion. And for whoever is, the champagne will taste pretty darn sweet. I am the NASCAR Gander RV and Outdoors Truck Series playoffs. I am the future, but I am happening right here, right now. I am where names you know become names you'll remember forever. Names etched in metal, in memory. What name will we speak of long after this? I am going to show you. I am the NASCAR Xfinity Series playoffs. Names are made here.
They're running out of time. They're running out of tracks. They're running out of laps. 8 drivers, 4 races, 1 trophy. The championship pressure relentless. The championship glory unimaginable. Who has what it takes to be the last man standing? The NASCAR playoffs on NBC.
Back live from the Charlotte Motor Speedway. Coverage of tonight's race is brought to you by Coca-Cola, the official fan refreshment of eNASCAR. And by ASUS, the official gaming hardware partner of the 2020 eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. We're working lap number 23 of 55 in this Charlotte Roval 125. Evan Pasoko and Steve Letarte on the call for you for the opening race of the round of 8 for the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series playoffs. It has been the Bobby Zalenski show, but we kind of expected that. We knew that, and if he could go to victory lane tonight, would lock up a spot in the championship four. So for everybody else there on back, points are big tonight. Taking a look at Keegan Leahy, who started this race in second, but he got passed by Jimmy Mullis after he went for a loop. Steve cost him a spot. Leahy falls to third.
Well, and that's how easy it can happen. I think that's the point for Zalenski, why we have yet to see him make a mistake in a few of these road course races. It's possible. And even with an 8-second lead, Jimmy Mullis's goal is to stay close enough that Zalenski can't absolutely cruise. We saw Leahy spin around. Keegan is a veteran. He is very good behind the wheel. So if you see a mistake out of someone like him, it can really happen to everybody. So let's take a look at exactly what happened here. Oh, he just gets high, and then he gets to that left side in the grass, then nowhere to go. Some contact, actually, with the barrier. We'll have to see if that hurts his car. I think that was somewhere down between turns 5 and 6.
Yeah, no water, but that was also kind of one of the calamity corners over the weekend, because if you saw, he got just the left side tires off in the grass, and at that point he was totally out of control. There's not a lot of runoff, and curious if that damage to the left side of the race car is going to hurt him at all. His lap time last time by was the slowest amongst the drivers inside the top 7. He is, though, 3 seconds ahead of the next closest driver in Nick Ottinger, so we'll monitor if that damage hurts Keegan Leahy or if it's just the tires kind of dropping off. You're taking a look right now at Christian Challoner, up 2 spots, running in position 6. One of the drivers who's been doing a good job of keeping it clean. He had a bit of contact on the opening lap of this race, got hit in the back end. Doesn't look any worse for wear, and is in the green so far, so all good for the 37 team.
So far, so good, but as they roll around with 30 laps to go, you're going to have to ask yourself, who's going to start thinking about pit road? You know, you would run, about 2 to 3 more laps to be splitting this race up directly in the middle. Will somebody come early for fresh tires? Will somebody run late and try to have an advantage of just clear track? I think earlier is the safer bet. We'll see who takes advantage of it.
You can see some drivers coming down, and as you mentioned that, some drivers talking on the radio, and Ryan Luza is in. So he'll go for a short run, only 25 laps into this race on pit road. And again, he does have enough fuel to go the 30 to the end, but certainly the short pit on Luza. And we talk about that any given week, the fact that drivers want to come down pit road, Steve, earlier to get that fresh rubber, to get out there and put some hot laps down, maybe jump frog, over somebody, and then you will deal with the older tires on the end of the run, but at least you'll give yourself the track position advantage. There's a familiar car, the 36 car, down pit road, but I mean, here it's a big difference. You're looking at 5 seconds right now on track slower than these drivers were at the start of the run. So every single lap out there on the old tires is a lot. So some drivers, even just a lap difference on the pit road, could shuffle up the running order a lot, especially mid-pack, where we're only seeing splits of 2 or 3 seconds per car.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the advantage is without having full course yellows, you can't really be caught by a yellow. So as long as you're just efficient on and off pit road, you're just breaking it up. The math would say to pit at lap 27, dead in the middle, and have the freshest tires for both runs. But if you abuse your tires early when the pack was pushed together, they can fall off more, as we see now the 21 on pit road as well.
Looks like Ray Alfala also pitted a couple of laps ago, so that's 3 of your playoff drivers. Alfala, Luza, now Garrett Lowe down pit road. Again, Conti, the other one of them out of this race. So aside from them, now we wait to see who's the first major player at the front of the field to come down pit road, because Zalenski, Mullis, Leahy, and Ottinger, 1, 2, 3, 4, all playoff drivers. We'll see which of them is the first to make that decision. Zalenski leads all of them through that bus stop chicane on the back straightaway, working lap number 26 of 55. So still not yet at halfway, as Chris Oberlin's going to take the dive. He was running back in the pack. Looks like he was about in the 20s or so, but he decided to come down to the pit lane. Oberlin scored 29th.
When I look at Zalenski, I think it really just comes down to traffic. You see he has clear track in front of him, so there's no reason to pit quite yet. There are some cars that are on the lead lap, but he'll be catching them to lap them. Be 2 or 3 seconds in front of him, so we'll see if Zalenski makes the move, or we'll see if this move by Keegan right here forces Zalenski's hand.
Remember, Keegan was running in third with a bit of damage, so he may also have the opportunity. It depends if he wants to give up time to actually sit in the pit stall when his service is completed. We're expecting it to be 4 tires and fuel, take about 14 seconds or so. We'll see if he stays any longer to get the damage fixed. It looked like on the speed charts that he was a little bit slower after the damage. I can't promise it. And Leahy is not going to waste any time. He's going to get back right on track. He does not want to sit down there. But he was the first of those top 4 to pit. So does Zalenski respond? Does Mullis respond? So far, those 3 not immediately down pit road. You're on board with Christian Challoner, who's up to P5 for the moment. One of the highest running non-playoff cars behind Corey Vincent in front of him at 4.
I'll be honest, I'm actually surprised with the pace fall off. You mentioned it, almost 5 seconds from the fastest lap of the race. Bobby Zalenski had slowed down 4.7 seconds. That amount of fall off could almost consider a 2-stop race. Run 15 pit, run 15 more in pit. Now, nobody has done that, so I imagine everyone's going to just go with the 1 stop. But looking at the fall off, I wonder if these teams expected it to be that high, as we see Mullis on pit road currently. And now we see Challoner, I think it is as well, coming to pit road. You may have considered a 2-stop race, but nobody took the opportunity.
Yeah, pit lane time also only about 40 seconds or so. That's total time on pit road and in the box. You see the 17 hard on the brakes, Colin Keister. So that lap, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 on track all came to pit road. It included your race leader, Bobby Zalenski. But even through that, I think he's maintained his race lead. So not even going to get eclipsed for a lap led on the stat sheet due to a pit cycle. He's already back out there. You're looking at Logan Clampett now, one of the highest running drivers who has been down pit road already, about a lap before these drivers. He started 9th, but right now he'll sit P5, so Clampett picks up by the undercut.
Yeah, as you mentioned, the total pit time, I actually am surprised. I'm scratching my head right now why I didn't call my 2 Letard Esport drivers and talk them into a 2-stop strategy. Come at maybe 17, maybe come at 18. Tim, what are you hearing on pit road?
There's been a lot of chatter about this run, Steve, as Logan gets into the wall coming on to the NASCAR Oval, but a lot of chatter about this run in the race, when to come down pit road, and really how to set yourself up. Christian Challoner had some sound bites. Let's hear from him.
Make the play to get us into a top 5, okay? Just give me a shot at it. Like, if it doesn't come off, it's no worries, but just give me the opportunity. I'm not going to fall out the top 10, so I'm not worried about that anymore. I want the top 5. Everything 6 through 9 means nothing to me.
Been talking to Jimmy Mullis, or listening to Jimmy Mullis as well, guys, and they're concerned about the pace that Nick Ottinger has right now. They're on pace for that 2nd place run. They think they can keep up with Bobby Zalenski, but Zalenski really good on the first couple laps out. So we'll see what happens, but all quiet on the Jimmy Mullis radio other than Taylor Hurst telling him his lap times.
1.7 seconds, the difference right now between those two, Steve. It feels like it was almost 10, 15 laps ago that we mentioned it was at 6. So over the course of the run, looks like everybody kind of balances off, evens out. As Tim mentioned, it's Bobby's first half a dozen laps that really separates himself. And honestly, even if you ran better than him from this point on, he was so good in that first run that you've already dug yourself a hole. To the point where I think if you're Mullis, your only concern now is Keegan Leahy. Because remember, we haven't seen much of a fight between 2nd and 3rd tonight. The difference between them now is only 1 second.
Go on board with Jimmy Mullis right here. He's using the standard H pattern. Surprising to see. I always preferred the paddles. Very calm hands, very patient behind the wheel. Look at him. Look at the focus in the eyes, though. Looking for those marks around the corner. And as you mentioned, that's the big difference, I think, Evan, is just the new tire pace for Bobby Zalenski. The first 4 or 5 laps, he is a half a second or more faster than the field. That last lap, a half a second over second.
One thing I'm noticing as well is Mullis, his eyes aren't leaving that focus point on his screen. You can see to the left-hand side of that onboard shot, you can see a screen. He basically has 3 monitors in front of him to give him that bit of a peripheral feel, but it's not like, Steve, he's actually physically looking right or looking left. He's dead locked in on his front monitor, and he's taking in all that extra information from those side monitors just in his peripheral vision to help him out with where he's at.
I'm fascinated watching him shift, just so calm. You watch the race car drivers in the real speedway, so violent to try to get him into gear. You see how smooth the electronics shift here. Looks like he's in 3rd right here. Waiting to see if he goes to 4th. Nope, he's going to carry 3rd to the downshift, down into 2nd. See if this is a 1st gear corner. Nope, 2nd gear corner, so he's in 2nd. Stay in 2nd, and from what I understand, the majority of the infield is 2nd gear in real life. We'll see how these guys do it on the iRacing world.
You stay in 2nd through most of it, and you can see how small that shifter was. You know, unlike at a Cup car or Xfinity car, whatever you're thinking about, where everybody roughly has the same idea of a shifter, here, you know, these drivers can have all kinds of different equipment. And look at the onboard with Garrett Lowe running P6, leaning way back. I'm not seeing the hands leave the steering wheel. Steve, kind of tough to see if he's got an H pattern down to his bottom right, but if those hands stay true, that might suggest that he's on the paddles.
I won't lie, while obviously he's sitting that way because it's comfortable for him, it looks uncomfortable for me. It's making my neck hurt. You see he reaches down with the left hand. That might be a brake adjustment or a different adjustment. The right hand doesn't seem like it comes off the steering wheel. It's hard to tell from that camera angle. Watching all these guys, Evan, I've determined that I work way too hard when I try to drive these things.
I am stressing myself out every single corner, white knuckle, even, especially on the road courses, I mean. And, you know, there's a lot of those different preferences. We talk a lot about monitors, but, you know, how you sit, the chair that you're in, your positioning, you can't really modify that too much in a real car. You're very much locked in by the safety equipment. There's the Bat Cave with Ryan Luza. He always looks very intense, sitting in the dark. He wants those monitors to be bright. One of the conversations I always love is socks or shoes. A lot of drivers like to just go with socks or even barefoot to feel the pedal underneath them as opposed to having a boot on like you would in a real car. All those different things create a unique driving style.
Yeah, I'm a barefoot guy. Not as much for the gas. I can run the gas pretty good with the shoe on, but to feel the brake pedal, you know, to feel the response of the brake and exactly how hard you're pushing. You know, that's one of the things that sim racing lacks is the physical deceleration of the G's of the race car. So you have to use your eyesight and your senses to figure out how much you're slowing down, brake at the same point. So I like to run a barefoot on my left foot so I can feel the brake pad or the brake pedal. This looked by Luza right here in the dark cave. He always looks a little intimidating to me sitting here in the dark.
Well, and funny, we just saw the other on board where it looked like Jimmy was kind of looking dead straight. I mentioned he wasn't looking side to side at his peripherals. Not only is Ryan darting his eyes around at the screen, I think, a little bit more, and he could have a number of different telemetry things open that he's glancing at, lap times, positioning, and all that, but he was looking a little bit to the right with his head, with his eyes back to the left to keep him straight. Here's on board with Keegan Leahy running in 3rd position. He's chasing down Jimmy Mullis in P2. Mentioned that they were only a second apart after the pit cycle, but Mullis has been able to open that gap back to about 3 seconds and change.
Yeah, now you can see the paddle shifters on each side of the steering wheel. I assume that's what Keegan's using here. We'll see as he climbs into the banking of the oval. We'll see if there's an upshift with the paddle. So he's definitely using the paddle shifters. I'm much more comfortable with that. Leave 2 hands on the wheel. But, you know, that's the beauty of it. These drivers have options.
And I think it makes it a lot more difficult to miss-shift if you're using the paddles as well. You know, I mentioned that shifter we saw in the earlier shot with Jimmy it's a relatively small shifter, and there's a handful of different companies that make them. You can obviously get custom-built ones as well to kind of fit your driving style. But with a smaller shifter, again, if you're not looking, 3rd could easily go accidentally 1st. I mean, you could easily miss a shift, so the paddles as well, I think, makes that a little bit less likely. Now we're taking a look with Roval Racing. You heard it at the start of the night. He said that 5 times sounds a lot better than 4 time, and he's still running mid-pack here, 24th position, doing what he can.
Well, he is mid-pack, but remember, with Conti's engine issue, that's what Roval Racing is trying to do. He hasn't made the big mistake. He hasn't forced himself into an error. So while this is a 4-time champion, we expect Roval Racing to be running closer to the front than 24th. That's on the ovals. Here on the road courses, he'll raise his hand and tell you he is not a road course specialist. Still is a good driver, still doing a nice job, but don't make it a must-win. What he's done so far, 1 or 2 more drivers have issues, and Roval Racing can perhaps point his way through. And if that's the case, you can look back at the Roval, and his survival approach might be the reason.
He wasn't fighting for the championship last year, so it was under different circumstances when we came here to the Roval. And last year, it was also the last race of the round of 8, not the first. But Ray finished 33rd in that race after starting 21st. So just looking to improve on, obviously, his experience from last year. Is to just keep the car on track. You can see he's got a window full of John Gorlinski. That's the battle for 23rd that he's in.
Gorlinski's in front of him, and then a little bit of a gap to the next car of Zach Novak. It seems like Ray's a little bit quicker. Just be nice and patient. Pick your spot. You can almost see a little bit of the frustration on it. I won't call it frustration, but this is a driver that, you know, when he straps in, he has speed. He's up front. He just knows this is not his cup of tea.
Speaking about Roval Racing, and as we ride on board with him, let's listen in to some team radio chatter.
Bro, we're only halfway. This.
Well, it's funny. Off the top of the broadcast, Steve, I mentioned that it was a bit of a sprint race. Only about an hour and 15 minutes or a little bit more green to checkered. Doesn't mean they're not working, and especially if you're not having the greatest of nights. You talk about Ray, maybe a little bit of frustration there. Can't believe we're only at lap 35.
Well, it's a sprint, but with no full course yellows, you have to be mentally engaged the entire time. As we see now, a good battle between the 21 and the 27. The 21 of Garrett Lowe trying to hold off Corey Vincent at the moment.
4 cars in that battle. We'll monitor that as well. Here's another on-board look with your defending series champion, Zach Novak, who won't have an opportunity to defend it this year. Didn't make the cut to get into the playoff 8. Talk about little different preferences. I think that's the first driver, Steve, we've seen with the racing gloves. I also saw the H pattern.
The H pattern, the racing gloves, sits very close to the wheel. And it's almost, you know, looking at the, I don't want to say it's simple, but the effort he puts in, it looks like his force feedback is pretty low as well. It doesn't look like he runs a lot of force feedback in his wheel.
Yeah, I hear a lot of the feedback from these drivers that they don't want to have that force feedback overpowering. I don't think that there's a reason you would crank it up to 110% and mimic the lack of power steering per se. So they try to make it easier on themselves so that they have to put as little effort in as possible to just keep themselves rested. You don't want to work too hard if you don't need to. Something else I'm noticing, Steve, is that is not a stock car wheel. Looked like he swapped that out for an open wheel per se, and it looks like that's what he's racing, which obviously is more akin to road racing. Not going to see him use that on the oval, but that is a hardware change specific to this race.
Yeah, it looks like a little bit smaller than what we're seeing at the ovals. You know, make it more comfortable, make it easier to do. There's no reason. I mean, switching out a steering wheel, that's free speed if it makes it better. Other than the cost of the steering wheel, there's no other involvement to it. And if that makes it more comfortable, why not?
And a lot of radio communication back and forth. We've seen some where there's almost no talking. We heard that with Roval Racing and some of the other drivers, that's an H pattern setup with a formula rim is what he's working. Some teams don't have the driver talk at all. It's probably a lot of communication from the spotter, just relaying your last lap time and laps to go every time by the stripe. Zach looked a lot more engaged, and honestly, you talk about being mentally locked in, Steve. A lot of that from Zach could honestly be not necessarily relaying hard info to the team, just chatting. Just try to pass the time, so that you don't kind of get that tunnel vision and fall asleep, if you will. Just be active. Have somebody talking back and forth. Again, that's all driver preference, and Here's another on-board look, this time with Phil Diaz, the Bone Motorsports, number 75, running 31st position. And that's another driver who's using the paddles on the back, and that's a great angle for us because you can see the paddles are affixed to the back of the wheel itself. That's another difference with the paddles, is sometimes you have the paddles on the wheel, so when you turn the wheel right, the paddles move with. Other people have those paddles affixed to the base of the wheel, so when you turn the wheel, the paddles actually don't move at all. Looks like he wants them close to his fingers at all points.
Yeah, so you're going to see right here as he leaves turn 8, he's going to use his right fingers and reach down. There you go. There's an upshift. That's probably the 3rd gear. That's 4th gear. And now he's going to come down in here, and his left hand's going to get busy with the downshifting. Oh, man, that looked like a little bit of rear tire lock up on corner entry. Either wheel hop or rear tire lock up. You know, as we talk about, you know, Phil Diaz, or we were on board with Zach Novak, I think it's a great time to talk about, you know, the relegation. Novak only 6 points above the cut line in 19th position. Diaz currently 34th in points, minus 53 from the cut line. And the cut line I'm talking about is the bottom 20 will have to go down and run the road to pro. These guys will be out of the eNASCAR Cup Series, or at least not have a guaranteed seat. They can earn themselves a seat for next year, but they have to go back and re-earn it again.
It's one of my favorite things about this series. Now on board with Bob Bryant as he runs in 14th, and I always use the analogy of there's no 2-3-year deals. It doesn't matter on the name on the side of the car, depending on what ride you're in. If you don't perform, you're done. Even guys like Roval didn't make the top 20 last year. Doesn't matter if he's a 4-time champion. He's got to play like everybody else. Got sent down to the Pro Series and won a Pro Series championship in those Xfinity cars over the course of the offseason. Came back and with redemption, one of the playoff drivers this year. On board with Bob in 14th position, one of the drivers for Burton Kligerman Esports, who had picked up that role with that team late in the season. Doing a pretty good job here. A lot of back and forth, side to side on the wheel. I think a little bit different than Novak, where you mentioned it looked like very minimum kind of input and very calm. He is working that thing off each corner.
He is. I'm surprised. Our man Parker, he's too busy to join us on some of these races. This is right up his alley. He's an excellent road racer. And without him here, we could talk freely about his driver without Parker eye-rolling us on the broadcast. A great battle here. 3 cars nose to tail into the backstretch chicane.
It's the closest battle on the racetrack. The lead car is Garrett Lowe, and he needs to hold these guys off. There's 3 more cars in tow. Challenger Vincent Kerwin, those are all non-playoff drivers, trying to steal some points away. This time by, though, 39 laps down, 16 laps to go. From the Roval, you're watching the Bobby Zalenski Show from the Charlotte Motor Speedway.
For those living together and those living apart. For classmates, graduates, and teachers making the best of it. For the restaurants delivering to our doorsteps. For the frontline workers putting it on the line every single day. For this great nation determined to be stronger on the other side. Thanks to all of you, we'll be together again.
Close to the end for some and the beginning for others. After all the races and all the wrecks, it's down to 10 drivers. And though each and every one of them wants it, only one can be named champion. And for whoever is, the champagne will taste pretty darn sweet. I am the NASCAR Gander RV and Outdoors Truck Series Playoffs. I am the future. but I am happening right here, right now. I am where names you know become names you'll remember forever. Names etched in metal, in memory. What name will we speak of long after this? I am going to show you. I am the NASCAR Xfinity Series playoffs. Names are made here.
They're running out of time. They're running out of tracks. They're running out of laps. 8 drivers, 4 races, 1 trophy. The championship pressure relentless. The championship glory unimaginable. Who has what it takes to be the last man standing? The NASCAR playoffs on NBC.
Coverage of tonight's race is brought to you by Coca-Cola, the official fan refreshment of eNASCAR. And by Asus, the official gaming hardware partner of the 2020 eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. Your race leader is Bobby Zalenski. It has been throughout. Jimmy Mullis right there, the number 46, about 8 seconds behind. In P2, Keegan Leahy third, Ottinger, Clampett, you were top 5. One of the best battles on track, the one you watched when we were non-stop. Garrett Lowe on back for P6, something going to have to give in that group. But late in this race, now inside of 13 laps to go as we go down to pit road to Tim.
And we've got some on board with Jimmy Mullis. Jimmy trying to track down Bobby Zalenski and trying to stop the streak. Here's what he had to say on the team radio.
Bobby's in a prototype. Me and like 10 people are in GTEs. And everybody else is in GT3s. I think.
So yeah, just trying to compare these cars right now, and Bobby Zalenski out in front pulling away, and Jimmy Mullis just trying to hang in class right now, guys.
When here I thought, Steve, that the IMSA race at the Roval this weekend didn't have a prototype category, but apparently Bobby Zalenski was able to sneak one in.
Well, that's what we've seen before. Bobby Zalenski is truly in a category of his own. Just smooth, his pace, his lack of mistakes. He works through now lap traffic. Doing a nice job. Jimmy Mullis has done a really, really nice job. He's only gapped him, Jimmy, 9 seconds. I know that seems like a lot, but, you know, we are 43 laps, 44 laps into this race, so this is as close as we've seen anybody stay to Bobby at one of these road courses.
Yeah, last year he finished about 8 seconds ahead of Michael Conti here in this race. Conti didn't have that same speed, though, here tonight. Remember, was running only 7th position before that blown engine took him out of the race. The next closest car after Conti was Nick Ottinger, 19 seconds behind. Jimmy Mullis last year, 32 seconds off of Zalenski, who finished 6th in that race. So that's an incredible improvement year over year for the driver of that number 46. This is the battle, though, that I mentioned that we were watching through the nonstop, and this is a big one because, again, Garrett Lowe, playoff driver, has 3 non-playoff cars behind him. And we talk about the dynamic between the playoff guys and the non-playoff ones. All 3 of these guys want to fight for relegation. They want to stay in the battle. Let's hop on the caboose. Let's ride on board with Casey Kerwin. Casey comes into this race at 20th in the points. Steve, when you talk about that relegation bubble, Corey Vincent in that battle came into tonight 12th. Christian Chandler, 28th. They all have something to fight for in hopes of staying in this series next year. And while that may be the best battle on track as far as cars, it is not the highest in the running order as you take a look at the live playoff points left-hand side of your screen that now has Nick Ottinger tied with Ryan Luza. The 25 can swing that with a pass right here, as it does look like that damage that Leahy got on the spin has allowed him to fall back, and Ottinger, for the first time, an opportunity to get into the top 3.
Well, an opportunity, but with 5 seconds in front of these two to the next car, I think Ottinger has to see that he has 10 laps to make this pass. He can just continue to just stay there, 1, 2, 3 car lengths back. Maybe the 32 will make a mistake, or maybe he'll just get a good run out of a corner. Maybe it'll happen in traffic. We'll see another car in front of them. Where will they catch that traffic? Will it slow the 32 car down? So I think Ottinger's doing a nice job here of just stalking the 32. Gets a good run out of the backstretch chicane, though. Will he have a move into the front stretch chicane? We'll see. Doesn't look like he's quite close enough yet.
Look how far left they go, almost to basically where the left side tires are just on the edge of the grass as they come into the right and then the left-hander, and they're using up a lot of the turtles as well. I know that's always a point of conversation when we go road racing. A nose to the inside. Here comes Ottinger, and it's his. I was just about to say that he's not going to give this to him, but Ottinger did a beautiful job of diving underneath. Keegan had no choice but to give him the spot, and an impressive run for Nick Ottinger, +3, as he's now up to 3rd.
A nice run up to 3rd and a nice pass right there for the lead of the race, kind of putting his car in a position where I think Leahy knows that his car is damaged, and there was no reason at this point in the race with 9 laps to go to be contentious about that and drive in too wide down in the turns 3 and turn 4 complex. So now you kind of get back in line and see what you can do.
And I got to ask, because we saw the live points there, and we talked about how minuscule the difference was, 4 and 5. And again, we know Bobby Zalenski looks like he's going to win this race. It will automatically lock him into the playoffs and go to the next round to the Homestead finale. At least one spot's going to be open on points. But for Michael Conti, we saw him at -36 or so as we pick this battle for 6th up again, Steve. It's the same length of rounds as what you have in the Cup Series, 3 races at a time, but we only have 1 round total before the championship finale. So there is no more, and you can see the live points there now. Conti back to a -37, and Ottinger picked up 1 by getting that pass done. But it's not like this is the round of 16, and I can get away with a bad race, knock out a couple of top 10s, and probably be okay. We're talking about this is a very thin margin to be top 4. So if you're Conti, is it only a win that can do it for you these next 2 weeks? I mean, and how does that change kind of the mindset for our 2014 Series champ?
I think he's going to have to be. And a couple things. First of all, it is a round of 8, and that margin, as you talk about, these are the best 8. They're in the playoffs for a reason. And the other thing is there aren't stages in these eNASCAR Coca-Cola Racing Series. So, there aren't an extra bucket of points that you can fill up. That's 20 points that a real-world competitor can find in stages. These guys can't. So the actual points available in a race is less than the real world. So 37 is a sizable margin. I just don't feel that's something you can make up in a race. Now, if everybody wrecks on the initial start in the next race, well, then you'll adjust as you go. But I think at this point, the 8 needs to be thinking strategy-wise, it's a win at all costs.
He'll have to try to get the job done over the course of these next 2 weeks as we go racing at Kansas and then Texas. Just looking back over the course of Michael Conti's career, as I mentioned, including that championship from 2014, that if Conti were to win at those 2 tracks, it would have to be a first for him, because I am not seeing any prior career wins for him at those 2 racetracks. Also checking out a different battle, some 43 seconds off of the race lead, but a good one. And Ryan Luza, 6th of the 8 playoff drivers in the running order right now, started at 18th. He's up to 10th, but that is not guaranteed, because Nathan Lyon, 11th, Graham Bolin in position 12. These drivers are all over the back of him. Very similar story to what we've been talking about with Garrett Lowe in 6th. He's got Challoner, Vincent, Kerwin on his bumper. Those are non-playoff guys that don't have any real reason to cut him a break because they need points to avoid relegation. Luza maybe came into this race as a mid-pack car in the qualifying session thinking, listen, maybe the same mentality as Rafaela. This is not going to be a great race for me. I just need to get out of it what I can. +8 is very impressive, I think. If he can hold these cars off, steal a top 10, that would be a great result for Luza. Just not cost him too many points after he finished 20th in this race last year in 2019. So it's a big closing 6 laps to go this time by for Luza. It's a big closing 6 laps to go for Garrett Lowe, Tim.
Yeah, Logan Clampett on your screen right now, Evan. He's had a quiet night. Remember the last time we were racing a road course at Daytona? Had a quiet night as well, running in position number 5. Had a little bit of a run-in with Chris Oberlin, trying to get by some of the lap traffic, but got by, picking through his way through this traffic. Alex McCollum next up on the list, but now he's trying to set himself up for what would possibly be a team point battle. He keeps asking his spotter, Jason Lofing, where is X driver running? Where is X driver running? He's trying to get into the team point battle instead of being involved in any other point battle on this racetrack. So he's just trying to figure his way out through these final couple laps.
And we talk about the razor-thin margins. The drivers in the playoffs, of course, fighting the margin to be the top 4 to fight for that $100,000 championship. The battle for the guys in 20th to fight against relegation. Steve, big thing with Logan Clampett is he was the driver who just missed out on this postseason. He was 8 points shy of making the playoffs this year. The first driver eliminated after he finished the regular season in 9th position. Those 8 points equates to half a single position over the course of the 16-race regular season. That small. 8 sounds like a big number at the end, but when you divide that over 16 opportunities in the regular season, a better finish here, a different lane on a restart there, not in a wreck here, those could be the differences between why Logan Clampett had an opportunity to get into the postseason and why instead this year he found himself eliminated in that regular season finale 2 weeks ago from the Talladega Superspeedway. Picking things up once more with Christian Challoner. He has been relatively patient, I think, with Garrett Lowe. Again, as a non-playoff guy, the worst case scenario is you don't want to be a factor in somebody else as he looks to the inside there. He needs this spot. I mean, he wants to get a point on Garrett Lowe. Challoner, I mentioned, 28th in the points coming into this evening. You can see the 37, only 14 down, though. This top 10 run has brought him up at least 3 spots in the points. So would this position be good? Yes. I just don't really think he can afford to do it and take out a playoff guy. You would not want that to do. So right now, he's walking a tightrope between doing what he needs to do and also giving some respect to Garrett Lowe, who's fighting for a championship as the 5th highest playoff driver in the field right now, running in position 6.
Evan, I'd like to let you know that I'm back on the broadcast. See, this is what happens when you take a TV broadcaster and allow him to do work from home. Because my computer died and I completely lost communication, and you've been doing a great job of covering the broadcast, but you can blame it on me. Never again will you allow me to run all my own electronics.
Well, see, the funny thing is, of course, with everything that has changed with COVID and travel, and I know that you guys have been working remotely for the majority of the time covering the second half of the NASCAR season, and you'll be on site, I think, for the rest of it. But we're used to working at home and kind of being separate from everything else. It's funny, you know, we take a look at a handful of battles. So the battle for 6th, the right-hand side of your screen, that battle for 10th is top left, and even some guys back in 24th fighting. As to the inside of Garrett Lowe comes Christian Challoner, but it's going to be the wrong way for the next corner, and the 21 hangs on. Is a lot of these guys, Steve, they've been racing with each other for, 10 plus years. A lot of them, their sim racing career started pre-iRacing. And this is a community that's grown, but a lot of these guys hadn't met each other until earlier this year in January at Media Day in Charlotte. So funny how you can be so close with a bunch of people while being so far away. And I think that's the interesting dynamic, especially in everything these days, but certainly it's always been the case in the esports world.
That is something about the esports community that I truly appreciate. I run with a handful on Tuesdays and Wednesday nights, and we have a great time. And I have met very few of them. They are great men and women we race with, and I consider them friends, even though we've never met each other. You and I, Evan, finally met. I think it was a couple years ago at the Las Vegas race. Unfortunately, I didn't get to go to Las Vegas this year. But I will be heading to Kansas this weekend. We'll be back to the racetrack, and I couldn't be more exciting. And these battles are just everywhere. I really ask you, at some point, should the 21 of low just relinquish the position? A playoff car, I know he doesn't want to give up the points, but, you know, don't be pushed into a mistake in the last 3 laps of this race.
Yeah, because the intervals in this part of the field are way tighter than everybody else. Garrett Lowe misses a corner. If he loses 5 seconds, that's all the cars behind him gone. If he spins it out, you've got guys like Luza 10 seconds back, Bolin 10 seconds back. That's the battle on the left-hand side of your screen for 10th position, top left, that is. You don't want to lose more. So Lowe's got to think, am I willing to risk my P6, possibly fall further back? And honestly, I think he's playing a game of chicken to a challenger. The 37 is faster than him. I'm not going to say he's way faster, but he's faster. And that's why this group of 4 has kind of formed up. Do you kind of make the 37 put that car where it doesn't belong? Because, like I said, Challenger's doing his best to respect the fact that the 21's a playoff car, but eventually he might get tired of it. And this time by, with only 2 laps to go, you would hate for that move to come on the last lap and for you to be at the short end of the straw.
Well, you mentioned these guys' relationship. Well, I think this is the point where you have to know who you're racing on. It appears to me that Lowe has a lot of belief in the cars behind him that they won't make an inappropriate move. So we'll have to see. 2 laps to go, 17 corners, a lot of places to make mistakes, a lot of places to go off track. Right here, there's some pressure from behind. The 37 is there. Will he push the issue into turn 7 or 8, try to get a run as they rejoin the oval right there on the rear bumper of the 21?
Working him hard. I saw a change for position on that ticker left-hand side of your screen. Graham Bolin did get around to Ryan Luza, so they swap out 10th and 11th position. That's 1 less point for the 53 team, and you see these other drivers as Bobby Zalenski up at the front of the field is on the last lap of this race. Once upon a time, road races were a dime a dozen. You had 1 a year. We alternated Sonoma to Watkins Glen. Steve, if this series follows anything like the 2021 NASCAR calendar, Bobby Zalenski is going to be a big fan. I don't know if we'll have 6 road races. We'll probably still see minimum 2, if not 3.
I would be a big fan of 3 as a team owner in the sport. 6 in the real world out of 36. You look at the same sort of percentages, I think that 3 in this series is an absolute reasonable amount. I like 1 in the playoffs, 2 in the regular season. I think that mirrors what's happening in the NASCAR schedule, and I would be supportive of it. I think there's some great tracks available.
And Bobby Zalenski, I think, is going to sign his name at the top of that petition. He is on the back straightaway for the final time. We talked about his road course dominance, and it's been truly incredible. But every single time we come to a different road course, we ask, well, is tonight going to be the night where somebody stops him? He's been undefeated. Can somebody knock him off at the top of the hill? The answer tonight is a resounding no. Final quarter for Bobby Zalenski. He'll remain unbeaten on the road courses. Zalenski wins at the Roval, his 5th straight road course win, and he is the first driver to punch his ticket to the Championship 4 finale at Homestead. A wreck across the line as Jimmy Mullis, 2nd best tonight, P2. Playoff driver Nick Ottinger, 3rd. Keegan Leahy, 4th. Here's the battle, 6th on back to the stripe.
Oh, here comes the move. And the 21 of Lowe will hold on.
I thought we were going to have a Truex and Johnson moment there when that 37 was diving it into the corner, but he doesn't. And hats off to Garrett Lowe. That is probably the hardest fought, 5th best you'll ever get, 5th of the playoff driver, 6th on track that he'll ever see. He had to hold those cars off for the entire second half of this race. More cars across the stripe. Colin Keister maintains 15th. Blake Reynolds in the Coca-Cola Chevrolet, 16th position. And that will round through everybody else on the lead lap. It looks like that Ryan Luza finished 11th. He was another one of your playoff cars. It looks like Alfala will finish 24th, only ahead of Michael Conti, who again lost the engine, will finish 37th. Not a good night for the number 8 car, but Bobby Zalenski, this is something he's used to doing, celebrating on the front stretch 5 in a row. Do we call him the, Jeff Gordon of this series, or To stay up to date is he the Chase Elliott of the series, because this winning moment is brought to you by Coca-Cola, the official fan refreshment of eNASCAR.
I think 5 in a row, he can take whatever label that he would like to have, whether it's old school Jeff Gordon or new school Chase Elliott. But either way, the 83 and Bobby Zalenski has proven once again that when you come to a road course, he's the man you have to beat.
And it has been a constant improvement for here. This marks his 3rd win of 2020. That is a career high for Bobby, topping 2 that he got back in 2017. Of course, already had 2 this year coming into this evening. So let's take a look at your Coca-Cola move of the race for Bobby Zalenski. And again, in a race that was caution-free throughout, it was keeping that car on the rails off of the get-go and not even giving those drivers behind him, Steve, a glimmer of hope.
Yeah, I mean, I think qualifying was his most stressful opportunity for Zalenski to really mess this up. But once he won the pole and had this nice, clean start, I think everybody knew he was going to be the car to beat. There was pressure. I thought Leahy stayed close enough early that forced Zalenski to run some laps, but his pace on new tires was just too much. He would pull a gap in the first 5 or 6 laps on a set of tires. Then he would just have to settle in. He makes it look easy. I'll admit, when you watch him around here, he never slips a tire, never misses a curve. He makes the Roval look much easier than I know it really is.
Lap number 2 of this race was the fastest lap for Bobby Zalenski. He put down a 1 minute 15.008 second lap time. That also goes to be the fastest lap out of anybody in this race. So putting him 2 right off the get going. Again, the only driver to go sub 114 with that 13.8 in the Q session. Made sure that he had the ability to control things off of the get-go. And I mentioned this coming to the green.
Mullis second, a little over 11 seconds back. Nick Ottinger, Keegan Leahy, and Logan Clampett in 5th.
I question if this was going to be the race where drivers closed the gap to Bobby. The difference between 1st and 2nd larger than last year, but everybody else on down, 2nd much closer, 3rd much closer, and so on. So a lot of drivers did pick up as we continue through. Ryan Luza, the notable playoff driver on this set. Big movers. Blake Reynolds, 16th plus 16 spots. Zach Novak, big points for the relegation. He goes plus 17 to finish in 17th. Looks like 22 total finish on the lead lap. You're not going to see many playoff drivers back here. 24th, Ray Alfala, 2nd driver 1 lap down. And as we go to the final slide of results, of course, we've mentioned several times, much to his dismay, it was a P37 finish tonight for the 8 of Michael Conti. As for your playoff drivers finish in this one, look top to bottom as well at your full race results from the Roval. We knew that he was the road course king described coming into this evening. And let's talk right now with the driver of the number 83 machine, standing by with Bobby Zalenski. Bobby, congratulations on the win. And Steve asked you off at the top, do you listen to what everybody says? Do you kind of psych yourself out? But it looked like tonight you were totally locked in as you get a 5th straight win on the road courses.
6th. Who's counting? But I don't know how we're able to still do this. Me and my team, show up and win for these. You put all this preparation in and all that, and you just somehow you're able to maximize every aspect every time, and with the car and just understanding the tires and blah 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 blah. But I don't know, man. I'm just happy we're getting to Homestead. That's the goal. That's the road course is the road course, but we're trying to win a championship. Get to Homestead. So I'm just glad we had a clean race, really good Q lap, and just was able to just go out there and drive. And I'm tired, so yeah.
It's funny, we mentioned that this race isn't that long on the stopwatch, but you're certainly feeling it. And I'll also mention that's the last time I let the guys in the iRacing trailer feed me stats. Next time, I'll do it on my own. But how does it feel, of course, knowing that you get this done? Doesn't matter what happens over the course of the next 2 weeks. Not that Kansas, not that Texas are real wild cards like we dealt with the Talladega regular season finale, but just to put all that behind you and, start getting laps in at Homestead, a track that you're familiar with. I mean, what kind of weight is that lifted off your shoulders?
Yeah, exactly. We can just go worry about Homestead now. But we're definitely going to be focusing on the 2 other races too, because they're 1.5 miles, and, you need to put in hard work there too. And you never know what kind of speeds you can find setup or just driver, because you know, you're always trying to help, and you know, I have my technical teammates as well to help on the setups too, so I can't let them down. Yeah, I'm just pooped, man, and it's not like a physical tired, it's mentally just like to just drive this place, especially on the old tires, like you're sliding all the time, and there's just so much fall off, and you can't screw up. I think Keegan, I don't know what happened to Keegan, but I heard he made a mistake, and like I think he was the second fastest car until that. And it's just so easy to make a mistake here with how on the edge it is. It's a beast of a track, but what a great opportunity to be at Homestead again. Hopefully we get it done this time. I know there's a lot, you know, in NASCAR racing, there's a lot out of your control, but you know, we're gonna go out there and do everything we can.
You got a couple of weeks to prepare for that one, but congratulations, Bobby, on the race win here tonight. And we'll catch you over the next 2 weeks for certain, but we'll see you in Homestead.
Cool.
We'll continue things on now with our second place finisher in this race. And it's a great result for Jimmy Mullis, who started in the number 3 spot, picks one up as he steals that P2 away from Keegan Leahy through the struggles. And we're chatting with the driver of the number 46 machine now. And, you know, Jimmy, let's rewind to, 6 races ago, weren't even sure if you would be in these playoffs, and now you are positioned in a great spot through round 1. Just walk us through your race tonight at the Roval.
Qualifying was really important tonight, just as it was at Daytona, and I feel like I put a really good lap together, and, with that, it was just all about being consistent and keeping the tires on it. I felt like I had good race pace, and, I put a lot of effort in coming into this, tonight, and I felt like, being good here was really important to, carry on to these next 2 rounds. And, Bobby, he just did what Bobby does, and, put a whooping on all of us again. But it was nice to kind of keep that gap a little bit closer, and we'll continue to work on that for sure.
It's going to be a role reversal for you now, and you're not locked in to the next round, but at least you're playing from a position of strength. Whereas for much of the second half of this regular season, you were kind of on the attack. So what changes now? Instead of chasing down somebody, you're going to be defending a little bit of a points cushion. What is the mindset headed into these next 2 races, obviously starting with Kansas next week?
I think the mindset is the same thing it was, 2 or 3 weeks ago when we were at Vegas. Just be consistent and, try to be up front and continue to get good points finishes. That's what we're going to need to, make it to Homestead. It would be great to win a race here in these next 2 and, just lock ourselves in that way. But, I don't think the mindset, for me changes any at all. It's definitely great to be off to this good start. But at this point, all focus is towards Kansas, and we're going to go do what we do there.
It was a good run tonight, and hopefully for your sake, it is there as well, Jimmy. Thanks for chatting, and congratulations.
Thank you.
So that's your P2 finisher tonight in the Roval 125, and we'll continue the parade of playoff drivers as we go trackside with the driver who comes home in 3rd position tonight. It is the 25 Chevy of Nick Ottinger. Nick, somebody else who picks up spots. You started P6, you finished in 3rd. There wasn't a lot of that plus minus inside of the top 10, so how you're able to find a little bit extra tonight?
Just hard work throughout the race. I mean, everybody pretty much backed their pace up going into, the backstretch chicane, and I felt like I could at least drive a car length deeper and still slow down just as well as them. Problem was just getting a run off, but I mean, overall, it's just hard work and, keeping the pressure on the guys in front of me. We had to use the chrome horn one time because we got a little tired of getting held up for, first bar of the run, but it's so hard to pass here. I mean, you come home 3rd. It's what we expected with our Logitech G machine, and I mean, I cannot be happy, but I mean, it's expected.
It's really going to be a game of inches or positions as this thing goes on. He had a little bit of a bump coming into this evening, 3 bonus points courtesy of a race win in the regular season. You're 3rd in the race. It also means 3rd highest of the playoff drivers in the field. How do you keep that momentum going, and what unique challenges does Kansas present that you're going to be working on for next Tuesday, especially now that in the postseason, we don't have 2 weeks to prep for a race. We're going at it again next Tuesday.
I mean, you just got to keep pressure on. I mean, we're going to be hard at work behind the scenes, putting the time in, putting the laps in with our teammates, our alliance members, with John and everybody. I mean, you can't let off the loud pedal, as you say. And I mean, you just got to keep your singular focus on, going to the next race. That's what we are about at William Byron Esports. I mean, Kansas, I don't know really what to expect. I mean, we've been so focused on, the Roval this week. I kind of expect us to, get back in that groove like we did at Las Vegas and come with a really good car. But, I mean, you're going to be on top of each other, so it's going to be really difficult to pretty much position yourself, where you don't get trained by people. So, I mean, I'm looking forward to it. I mean, we got a good, solid day here, but, the job's not done. We got 2 more races to lock ourselves in, and that's the main focus.
I won't keep you from it. We'll let you get out of here, but appreciate your time tonight, Nick. Congratulations on the good result, and hopefully we're chatting with you again next Tuesday.
Thank you, man. Hopefully we get a win next week.
The driver of the number 25 machine for William Byron Esports. And a big thanks to our top 3, Bobby Zalenski, Jimmy Mullis, and Dick Ottinger, for talking with us post-race in this one. Again, your top 4 all playoff cars. And there it is, Steve. We take a look at the bracket. Bobby Zalenski, move him on down. He will fight for the championship and the better part of that $300,000 purse. $100,000 on the line when we get to the Homestead Miami Speedway later this year. And he is our first driver in.
And I don't think anyone is surprised by Zalenski's being the first guy in. He was the favorite coming into the Roval. He showed why he was the favorite. I was really more surprised by Mullis, Ottinger, Lowe, other playoff guys that kept themselves in touch. Now it isn't a must-win situation. They can find a way to Homestead on points. While I think wins are the best way, points can do it. We'll see if they can continue that momentum a week from now when we head to Kansas.
And let's talk about Kansas, because of course it is an intermediate racetrack, and I found the mention interesting for Bobby because Homestead an intermediate track as well, but it's not really apples to apples in relation to Kansas or even to Texas. So, oftentimes we do kind of put those 1.5 milers or the cookie cutters, if you will, in kind of the same basket. They do have unique challenges, and Bobby's different than everybody else, but I think what Nick mentioned is I want to touch on is this road course race is very much an anomaly. We did have 2 of them this year, kind of like Talladega. It's different mindset. You really got to psych yourself up for it. And he mentions getting back into it. We kind of have 3 usual tracks coming up next where these guys are used to, where they can get into their normal practice procedures. So what are we looking at in Kansas in particular? We'll talk about Texas when we get there. What's the focus for these drivers and the uniqueness of Kansas that they're going to have to adapt to?
Well, you heard what Ottinger said. The biggest challenge for Kansas is you just can't get away with this rules package. It almost looks like a super speedway race. I think as tires age, you can get away a little bit, or at least single file. I won't say you can leave the pack, but you're going to have somebody either off your front bumper, rear bumper, or on either side of your car all day long. And for these playoff guys, how do you do that? There's no place to hide. You can't go around there with mittens on to try to protect points. You have to decide how aggressive you need to be. And I actually think the decisions on pit road could generate track position. Track position is a whole lot easier to keep once you have it. I'm excited to go to Kansas, and you mentioned it. I don't think it can be overstated. 1 week of prep, just 1. These guys are used to 2 or 3 weeks over the course of the season. We have some different gaps. Now we're down to 1 week. 7 days from today, we'll line up and do this all over again. So all that prep, all those laps, all those testing things they want to get underway, it's going to be some late nights for the next 5 or 6 days.
Yeah, it is a tightened schedule. Kansas was not in these playoffs last season, so a new challenge, at least on this portion of the calendar, and it's going to be a very different race than tonight, where Bobby Zalenski gets the win by some 11.6 seconds. But we look forward to that race, but until then, round number 17 falls into our rearview mirror, and that's it for us here tonight from the Charlotte Motor Speedway Roval. So I do want to thank everybody behind the scenes, as we always do here on Tuesday nights, for making this possible. And that's everybody from James Pike, Justin Prince, for Doug Hunt, Nicolette Goslin, Tim Burns, Alex Horn, Jake Kennedy, Sean Ambrose, Malik Streeter, Michael Watson, Cisco Scaramouza, Andrew Adamson. That's the entire team who makes these things possible. For Tim Terry on pit road, for my partner in crime, Steve Letarte, and myself, Evan Pasoko, I want to thank you for tuning in and congratulate Bobby Zalenski. We are back next Tuesday night for the middle race of the round of 8 from the virtual Kansas Speedway. That one on Tuesday, October the 20th. That race and every race of the 2020 eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series can be found exclusively right here on the iRacing Esports Network and streaming live at eNASCAR.com. Until next time, good night from Concord, where Bobby Zalenski has done it again.